pod bay doors, please, Hal.
The pod bay doors are slightly open on this little mini episode. I'm your host, Doug Heller, film critic and film historian for TalkMovieToMe.com. Here, as always, joining me to discuss the second episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, Jerry Dean Roberts, film critic for ArmchairCinema.com, ArmchairOscars.com, and OverThinkingOscars.wordpress.com. What's going on, Jerry?
Be away from those. How many did you eat? This episode gave me such anxieties. And it wasn't the spiders. It was just I got such anxiety every time he ate one of those eggs.
I know.
You are eating a family into extinction. That was driving me crazy. It was like...
And I love...
And he talks to the baby like he does, like I do my dog. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And I enjoyed when he goes up to them in the ship and he turns around and looks behind his back, knowing that he shouldn't be doing this, pops them open and just starts slurping them.
There's not a whole lot to talk about with this one. This is episode 10. This is the second episode of this second season, called The Passenger. And it's another side mission.
Yeah, but in a it's not a throwaway episode though.
No, neither was the first one.
No.
But I think it's really interesting, getting to learn another species.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Star Wars is all about.
Yeah.
You always sense that there are other species in the background that are not just filling the background, but they have lives. They have
that's the
things
best
that are
thing
going
about,
on.
The best thing about Star Wars is that every single person you see in a frame has their own backstory, and they might have even had their own book written about them.
It's a population.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a population.
Yeah, it's a real.
Frog Lady's probably going to get her own book. Who knows? But this was it's different than the first one was, because it's just the agenda, the trajectory is a little different. He is still trying to find other Mandos, and Pele ends up giving him not the soccer player, ends up giving him the whereabouts of some Mandos, but he's got to escort this passenger who's taking her eggs to where they can be safe.
Right, and going into hyperspace would destroy them because they're not fertilized yet. That's the thing. They're not fertilized yet. They're just eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And so the baby's not actually eating anything that's like fully alive and gestating.
But still.
Like a chicken egg at this point. And she needs to get there, and if he goes into hyperspace, it'll ruin their ability to be fertilized or whatever.
Right.
So they have to go sublight to another system, which has to take forever. And they're at risk for getting hit by all the things that are in normal space.
And they're chasing them.
Pirates, thieves.
Because he gets hit right away.
Yeah.
Because he's headed out of the other city from the last episode. And it's like this old World War II thing, where they stretch a thing across the road and they just kind of clothesline.
Yeah.
And nothing good.
Opener was funny though.
Yeah, nothing good really happens to him after that.
No, not in this episode.
I mean, he gets hooked up with this passenger. The kid won't stop eating the eggs. They get stuck on this frozen planet. The rebels from the New Republic are being a couple of jerks. Suddenly it becomes an episode of Cops. We got a runner.
And then you get uh, like the frog lady. There's like massive damage to this ship.
Oh, this ship is trashed.
I mean, the fact that he actually gets it in the air and off the planet is pretty impressive. Um, so I don't know. She runs off, and the baby, of course, is looking for things to eat because that's apparently all he does.
He's eyeballing it when she comes into frame.
Right.
Because he's around back of the Mandalorian and he's looking at that canister. And he's eyeballing
When he
it.
first meets her, yeah. He's like, I knew that was going to be a problem for him.
Well, we know he eats frogs.
Yeah.
But when he is alone with it and he turns that corner, I'm thinking, oh dear. And because, babies and puppies will eat anything they can get anything they can get in their mouth. And I'm thinking, I was thinking he was going to come back and the whole canister would be empty.
Yeah,
I kept waiting for her to start counting the eggs. She's going to notice that they're missing.
Yeah, well, maybe.
At the rate he's eating them.
If you also think about it, frogs lay like how many eggs at once?
Right, and she's done. She can't have it. She can't do
Right.
this anymore.
But no, I mean, just the amount of them, she probably doesn't know how many she had.
But still, if you got 20 in there, you're going to start to notice that the numbers are dwindling. You're going to start to notice that you've got a lot fewer eggs than you started with.
True.
Especially, like I say,
who knows how many he got, and he could just eat them in one bite.
Right. And he just slurps them down.
Yeah.
I want to give credit to the tech guys in this because what they do with the kid is really remarkable.
Oh yeah, the kid is amazing, and the child is so alive in this one.
And they're not, and a lot more than the last one, because the last one he was just kind of the dog reaction shots.
Right. This one he's moving around a whole lot.
And there's not a lot. It's, as far as I can tell, not a lot of computer effects, not a lot of CG.
Yeah.
The practical effects work. When he's skittering around, he's walking, and he has a lot more mobility and a lot more movement.
Mm-hmm.
When he notices that the frog lady is gone, and he's trying to signal to the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
and he's pointing.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably more expressive than I've ever seen. And by the way, when he presses his little nose against the glass, that's just you want that on your wall. That's beautiful.
He's just precious. And I love it when he started going back into that field when she was in that warm pool. He started going into that area, and the thing opened like a flower, and I'm like, oh no.
You start thinking alien.
Facehugger, totally.
Because
when he reaches in and picks it out, I'm like, oh my god, that looks like a facehugger. And then he eats it. I'm like, oh.
Well, he tells him no with the eggs, and then he turns around and he sees more eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So one egg is one. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But then they start coming out.
Yeah.
And the look of, we're talking about him moving and being expressive. The terror on his face was, and him screaming and trying to get away from him, and I don't know, they resembled those spiders from Chopper Base from Rebels.
Those are the spiders from Chopper Base.
Yeah, this is
not Chopper Crikena.
Base, yeah,
the Crikena, but it's the same species. It's the Crikena, I think, is what they're called.
Something, yeah. And I was watching it, I'm like looking at them, I'm like, those are the same ones on Chopper Base. Those are terrifying.
Well, I don't know if you watched The Gallery, but there's an episode where they talk about all the inspiration that they pulled for The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. They have pulled from every source. They pulled from the movies. They pulled from the holiday special. They pulled from the Ewok movies.
Mm-hmm.
They've pulled from all of the TV series. They pulled something into this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they pulled from Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
or was it Rebels? Or it was Rebels.
It's Rebels. Yeah.
And so they're making this an inclusive world,
Mm-hmm.
an inclusive universe. So it doesn't feel like it, you can never say this doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Right, and you can never say, well, this doesn't fit in because this happened in one of the animated things, and this kind
Right.
of contradicts that. No,
Mm.
it brings everything in and uses it, and it's what the sequel trilogy was starting to do too, or
Mm.
was trying to do with some of its iconography, and just say, hey, look, here's stuff that you noticed from this thing, and here's stuff that you noticed from that thing, and you
I
know,
like it when it's inclusive, but also expansive,
right.
because that's what this whole series is. It's taking it, is widening it out
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not locked into the same five characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is what they did with Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
which they included characters that we knew, but it was wonderful that it was its own thing.
Yeah.
What I love about this show is its restraint.
Mm-hmm.
What they do with this show, the restraint of not giving the kid too much.
Yeah, they definitely don't. Um,
Stay true to the character.
yeah, they don't overplay their hand,
No.
and they don't try to make it Baby Sinclair
Mm.
from Dinosaurs.
I don't have him talk.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I believe I'm the way that they're making him articulate more now. I'm betting that they're gearing up to have him say at least a couple of words by the end of the season.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised to hear him form a word or two by the end of the season. I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to be talking in sentences like Yoda by the end of the season, but
No, he's got another 100 years before that
he'll
happens.
say "Dad" or something at least, you know.
Or Din,
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
Um, but this is, of course, we won't know until you see the rest of the season, but this seems to be its own thing. It's included in the journey, but it seems to be its own thing, which is the one thing that I wanted to address. Last week was essentially a side mission.
Hmm.
This week is essentially a side mission. I've had my appetizers. Let's get to the entree.
Well,
I'm ready to get to the main story.
well, this is a lot like how they did the first season.
Yeah.
The first two episodes were kind of bringing you into the world, and this is kind of bringing you back in, reintroducing some characters, things like that. And I love that he went to Tatooine,
Yeah.
and he talked to what's her name? The Amy
Oh,
Sedaris character,
yeah, Pele.
Pele. Love her,
Mhm.
love her, and just the ecstaticness that she had seeing the baby in the last episode, and just,
I'm a good judge of character.
yeah. I hope you brought back some of that dragon meat.
Oh my God, where was he carrying that? Did you see that chunk of crepe meat they had on the spit? Where was he carrying that?
Oh, you didn't see it?
Uh-uh.
Oh, at the beginning of the episode, he's putting that slab of meat on the back of the speeder bike and covering it with a cloth.
No, I mean, where did he carry it? Because when he carries his stuff,
Oh, it's in there.
is it?
On
Okay.
his back, yeah. Yeah.
Because that was like Fred Flintstone size
That was a big piece of meat.
chunk of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I say, I really love this episode, and I love last week's. I'm ready. I don't think I need another. I don't think I need a third episode like this just yet. Maybe later on in the season, but
I don't
I'm
think
ready to get into the meat.
what I feel is probably going to happen is we'll get some good story stuff,
Mhm.
and the next side trip will be him meeting up with Grief Karga and Cara Dune to set up the finale, probably against Moff Gideon.
Well,
That would be my guess.
he's also gonna have to meet Boba Fett at some point.
Yeah, there's that too.
Um, what was interesting is I kept expecting. Um, I only saw the trailer for this 125 times. But the opening of that trailer, when you see the Razor Crest headed toward the planet, and it's sparking, it is torn to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
The back hatch is just flapping. I expected that to be in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I have every reason to think that's how the next episode's going to open.
Yeah.
But the ending, I'm going to be honest with you, the ending rushed up to me. I didn't expect that to be the ending, when they're just sitting in the cockpit.
Yeah, but there's nowhere else for him to go.
Nowhere else for him to go. I just expected there to be maybe one more beat or something. And I looked at the thing and I thought, okay, we got 3 minutes left and that's all credits. Oh, this is the end. Okay.
I personally didn't need any more.
No, I didn't either. I was just it's kind of the first episode. You knew where it was going to end. This one felt like the end of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
The last one felt more like the end of a movie. And I'm not saying that as a criticism, not at all. But it is a big to be continued.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just hope the continuation isn't that the kid eats all the eggs.
He probably had his last one at the. I loved that he turns around and looks at her.
Mm-hmm.
She saved his life.
Yeah.
Like big time, saved his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at her and she's starting to fall asleep and he's like, "Oh," and then he just turns around and pops an egg in his mouth. Where did he? How many did he stick in his pockets? Is what I want to know.
Right. One thing I got to mention though, she does a very ingenious thing because they don't speak each other's language.
Right.
She hooks up Zero's head to be able to speak to him. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, that's really ingenious. But why does he have that?
Yeah. Because
if that droid is a killer, why do you still have it? And I'm sorry, but when it speaks, all I can hear is Moss from IT Crowd.
Well, because it's Richard Iowata. Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened to me when I was watching the Box Trolls.
Yeah. All you can hear is yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna get a hot ear.
Yeah.
He's got to put on his skiing glasses. Watch the IT Crowd. It's a brilliant show.
It's brilliant. It's 2 seasons, and it's absolutely brilliant. Is it 4? Okay.
It's 4 and a special. They ended it finally once Chris O'Dowd actually started getting popular. And
started getting work.
Right. So
and Richard
Iowata started being he's a writer director now, mostly. But yeah, that's all I have for this one.
That's all I got.
All right.
See you again next week.
Yep. You can find all of our episodes at the podbaydorspodcast.wordpress.com. Like, subscribe, and hit the notifications buttons on iTunes and YouTube. Find us on Twitter at pod_bay, same one at Patreon. We thank you very much for listening, and the Pod Bay doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.